I mean, I would say it depends on what type of society you're in, but yeah, I would say in our society that's pretty common. Men are more about the practical things, you know. They're not trying to philosophize, and they ain't trying to hear all that, you know. Like,
But it's so
um,
funny how the leaders of the churches, though, are all men.
right?
How does that
Um,
work? It seems like the women are the ones mainly interested in it. Then it seems like they should be the ones that are the teachers. Because actually, women are better teachers than men, in my opinion, in a lot of cases, in a lot of ways. Because you think about
I
it,
just think that
my first
I
teacher
think
was my mom, you know?
right. I just think that women are naturally more intuitive than men. And I'm not trying to be here
Hmm.
discriminate against men
No,
here.
I get it.
I think there is a biological. I think there's a biological component to that. You know how the female interface works versus the male interface. A woman goes through childbirth, right, and she bonds with a life that is growing inside of her before the baby is ever even seen. A woman feels that, you know? And then when the baby comes out, you know, you're the first face the baby sees, and she's attuned with her infant. And, you know, she has to pretty much sleep with both eyes open because she has to listen for her child and get up every 2 hours. And she's listening for every little sound, you know? And I think in that way, women are just automatically, their interface is automatically built to be more intuitive. So I think that practicality comes in handy, right? The way men are very practical and logical. But at the end of the day, there needs to be some kind of middle that we need to come to periodically, right? You know what I mean? Where we come together on a more fundamental level other than practicality. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect happens in our current society. You know what I'm saying? Am I making
Right.
sense, y'all?
Yeah, and Eamon says, fair enough. I was answering one of Dave's comments. I know a lot of women are interested in spirituality, but they don't analyze these questions so much as a rule. That could be institutional bias.
Yeah, well, I think it's just like I was saying to Scott the other day, like, you know, people just don't accept certain terms. And when we talk about spirituality, there's so much negativity attached to that, and everybody has their own versions of it. And so when it comes to the like the only reason I really talk about it in these kind of frames the way that I do is because I guess I'm trying to prove something, right? I'm trying to prove that women aren't irrational, spirituality is real within the frame of philosophy, the way that we're describing it. I'm trying to give a voice to it,
Mm,
and convey that it's very rational, that it's not irrational, through these discussions of metaphysics and talking about science and things. And I know a lot of women aren't doing that, but I think it's about damn time that we do,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because it is kind of, it kind of has been where men are the final authority on these things, you know. And I think that a lot of men ain't really on track, right? They rationalize things too much. And you know, we just talked about that just recently. You did a show on what's rational. I did a little segment on it. And so the question is, what is even rational? What qualifies as rational? Is it rational to believe that there's nothing unseen, even though we always work with unseen things? Right? We don't know, we can't physically see gravity, but we know it exists based on inference. We work with anticipation before the facts physically present themselves all the time. And that is actually a skill that we develop through evolution for survival. So, you know, discussing these things my whole objective is to show that it is actually irrational to say something doesn't exist because you can't quantify it, right? And I
Right.
think that a lot of women already think along those lines. We're just not really heard, so that's
Well,
kind of what.
well, yeah, and there's a category that fits into that, which you think of being nurturing, like the quality of nurturing, emotionalism is in the same category as things like logical truths and possibilities, like modal possibilities. These are real features of reality, but they cannot be reduced to physical states, because logical modal structures, love, qualia, they're inherently conceptual or mind-like. So if logical and modal structures are real, they require grounding, and the only coherent grounding is going to be a mind-like reality is what's going to ground that stuff. And so women
and then when you
understand that intuitively, they may not express it in that way, and that's where men come in, and they sort of taking the lead there, like your Bernardo Kastrups and Nathan Hawkins and all of these philosophers and Alex O'Connors and people like that. They're giving voice to that, but women sort of just kind of know that, and they kind of operate
and it's like
from that.
Men have this need to rationalize things and express things very rationally, right? And then when you say the word emotionalism, there's a difference between having emotions and emotionalism, but I think a lot of times women react very emotional because the men aren't really hearing them, right? And that's kind of the problem. And like you said, there needs to be something that's grounding, and it feels very ungrounding when you intuitively know something and you having this subjective experience, and then someone else basically dismisses your experience or reduces it to something that is so rational, and then make you look like you're so unrational just because you can't see it, right? And so there's a breakdown, and I think that me and you doing this show, it kind of shows that there can be balance, right, between a male and a female. And we demonstrate this all the time. We can meet each other in the middle. And
What
that's
did you say?
kind of,
What did you say? I don't hear you. You're a woman. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a good balance, and that's what we need is a good balance. And there's no, the values are just different. It's not that one's better than the other. They're just different sort of tools and expressions.
Yeah. We have different qualities, different strengths, but that doesn't mean we need to be separate. We can come together and find the middle somewhere where we can come together and put those tools together and use them together, right? Like, I don't see what the big problem is. For me, that just seems natural. But apparently, we're living in a time where everything is divisive, and I don't know. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and also too, it's our culture, and which is, or our language is a product of our culture. So there's a lot of cultural biases.
Bullshit.
A lot of bullshit going on. Yeah, because people love to see differences and distinctions, and then we live in this scientific world of what can be verified scientifically is the only thing that really counts, which verification is self-refuting, because how do you scientifically verify verification? It's like it's self-refuting, doesn't really work. And yeah, we just need to kind of come to grips with all that and strike a balance. And the only way we're really going to do it, though, is if we really come together and, like the lady, understand, like the lady on there was saying, we're converging. We're trying to converge. And Sadhguru was saying, that's great, but there really is no getting together on that, because at the end of the day, you're always going to have people, contrarians out here that just want to always nitpick at the differences. And we're always going to see the differences. We're always going to operate from a, but how useful is it sort of point of view. And it's just really,
I think what he's really saying comes down to self-respect, right? Because he's saying your process may sound all good and everything, but that's what you need to do to believe, right? That's what you need to do to validate your experience. I don't need that. So don't really bring that shit to me, right? So I think he's just he's having a boundary. He's making a boundary. He's saying, yeah, that's fine and dandy that you want to do this and everything, but I don't need your scientific process to prove reality to myself, right? That's kind of a you problem. And I think that's what he was basically saying. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel as a woman, having been through like failed relationships with males. I just got to the point where it's like, I don't need your validation. I don't need your rationality to reduce me to something that I'm not. I can't be tamed. I am a wild woman, and I don't mean that in a way of, oh yeah, I'm promiscuous and all this kind of stuff. No, I'm a free thinker. I'm intuitive, and you can't conquer me. You can't catch me. The only thing you can do is align with me. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And the minute you try to rationalize me, reduce me, and contain me, I act the fuck out. What can I say? And that's what Sadhguru is telling her. You can't contain me. You can't contain reality. You can't catch it. It's like catching the wind, right?
Right, exactly.